wait for that to kick in. Let me get my little pen, my pen tool. Hope everyone had a good weekend. Had a nice, relaxing weekend. Run of the mill over here, nothing special. Was able to get some good relaxation in on Saturday, so that was kind of cool. Yeah, David, I switched my desk around. My wife was in here messing around, and my wife is my wife tends to move our furniture around a lot, and she says it kind of changes the flow of the house, and so I just let her have at it, and she kind of flipped my desk around so that now the kids can see me from the back of the house. So yeah. Okay. Need a lava lamp. Yeah. Those old lava lamps. I think we all had one I know I had one in college. That lava lamp. But all right, guys. So let's starting off on the daily chart. I have in the left-hand chart, I have a daily ES chart that is a regular trading hours only chart. And the reason why I want to start off with regular trading hours only is let me just make sure that's what the look is here. Yep. Is so that we can get a good idea of the gap and really what um and to get a good idea of what last Tuesday's gap really meant, right? So we left this immense gap from 66, 65 essentially, and our regular trading hours low that day was 67.80. I think we all remember that level well because we traded it as a look below and fail of the 67.83, and that kind of turned out really well. But last week we were highlighting how we bulls had to contend with this descending trend line here, and while we knocked on its door on Thursday, on Friday we looked above. Right, Friday we looked above. We kind of chopped above it, but we were unable to gain any traction above Thursday's value area high, and above Thursday's high value area high. And while bulls certainly had some time up there and spent some time, and we showed a level of acceptance, we just were unable to gain any traction and even test the overnight high. But in our pre-market prep, I thought we had the acceptance up there. I went over it on Friday that I took the long somewhere around off the 1030 low, and right on the next bar, like I essentially got stopped out, and I think I lost like 5 or 6 points. Not no, not the end of the world. Run of the mill stop. At least it wasn't a big shiner like a 10 or a 12 pointer. But yeah, so we were unable to gain any traction above there. And then we got back below the early pivot low. And from there, we just tested the pullback, the overnight low, and built some acceptance above it. So pretty much an inside day, a chop day, where bulls did a really good job of holding the prior day's high. And we formed out this bull flag formation here, right? We kind of had this flag to contend with. So that being said, let me just jump right back to the daily chart. So obviously today, what we have coming into today is, again, from the higher time frame perspective, we have our descending trend line, which comes in at about 68.70. I also want to highlight that on the daily, it's not, typically my experience tells me that when you have an impulsive move like this, while there was, in hindsight now, we can see that there was accumulation going on down here at the low. right? We weren't sure until we saw the hourly trend change break, and we highlighted that we needed to get over 6780, and the gap took care of that. We just blasted right through it, right through 6780, 6700, and it was, game balls in, games on to the upside. All right, so now we knocked on this descending trend line, unable to convert it. Um, but going into today, let's just be mindful of that trend line there. So now let's move back. let's move over to the hourly chart, because that's kind of where the rubber meets the road for us. Kind of gives me my bias for the day. And if looking at it purely from just using a simple moving, or just a simple or an exponential moving average, just want to make sure we get that right. We can see that. Okay, so let's just talk about the context for a moment, right? So we had this big descending trend line, and we were kind of expecting that this thrusty move higher would probably need to correct, right? That you can see I penciled in an A low here, looking for the B high, and ultimately looking for that ABC style correction of the impulsive move off of 63.53. So just left that penciled in there. It's not in stone. It's in case that developed. So now moving forward to today, right? So over the weekend, Trump, the news out was that there was no deal. So the premise for this rally was that there was a ceasefire deal. Over the weekend, that collapsed. It fell apart. I'm not sure of the details of it. I try to stay away from that stuff, but generally speaking, the deal fell apart, and now it seems that we're closing the Strait of Hormuz. Hard to keep up with it. So just from a pure price perspective, right? You would have thought that if this was really bearish, we would have expected that at least the gap up from the positive news would have at least filled or been tested more strongly. But last night when we opened, right, immediately I was watching that early high. I think it came in at about 67.90 or 67.95, somewhere around there. And if we were going to really be bearish, and this was going to be, and this move was not supported, then you would have expected that price would have gapped down, and that we would have probably done something like this, right? Gap down, come back up, test this area here, which was, just get a better marker here. You would have expected that price opened up, gap down, and that we would have seen a test of Thursday's low, and that we would have kind of come back up here and maybe got back into the gap, or at least tested deeper into those single prints from that gap. But we didn't see that. In the first hour, price came down, it made a new lower low, and immediately retraced. It chopped around, it showed some acceptance, and you can see that here on the 15-minute, that what happened was price reversed. It came down, reversed, took out the early high, and then that early high kind of became support, and it chopped around, showed some acceptance, and then ultimately we traded higher. So now, where does that put us for today? Well, I think it's pretty simple. Well, never simple, but let me just say that given the context of the news environment and the fact that bears were unable to gain any traction, as a bear, right? If you laid out shorts up here at the high, and you saw the news come on Friday, and you saw the news come through that there was a failure of a deal, so you laid out shorts up here, looking for that ABC style correction and maybe a move down into, a half gap, try to get into the gap fill. If you were trying to look for that move, you're pretty disappointed this morning on the open, right? Because if the premise for the gap up was completely voided and price was unable to even test half of the gap higher, that is not really a bearish environment. I think you know that you're wrong on the open. Yeah, I think we would have definitely seen more acceptance. Instead, what we did was we just put in another look below and fail of that 67.80. All right, so moving on. So what does that leave us for today? I think that, so obviously we have this gap fill at 68.4650, 68.46 quarter. So today, like every other day, the opening print is going to be pretty important, right? Our Globex open was down at 67.80. If we get, so say, let's cover the bullish argument first. Say we open up, we're in the upper portion of the overnight range with overnight inventory being 100% short, right? But I think a lot of that's been worked off. However, if you're gauging the overnight inventory based upon the prior day settlement, it's all short, right? But we can see kind of that there are buyers in here, so it's a mixed bag at best. All right. So now, if we get an open where it's an opening drive, game onto the upside, we get our opening print, maybe test a little bit below it, trade right back through it, then it's obvious that we're gonna go up and test the overnight high. If we can get traction above the overnight high and show some acceptance, similar to the same setup we were looking for on Friday, then our target becomes the gap fill at 68.46 quarter. If we open, say we put in a double top up here at the overnight high because it is a resistance point. Say we put in some type of double top and price comes back down into the overnight range, then what we'll be looking for is, do we gain traction below this 68.02, like J. Mark pointed out? Do we gain traction below that pivot, that pullback low? So I think that that's a pretty strong setup. If we so there's a lot of longs, a lot of overnight longs in here. If that move corrects, we get a move down below 6,800. We do a look below and fail. I think that's a pretty powerful setup, right? Where we look below and then we come back up and we can target that overnight high. But say that doesn't happen. Say we get this overnight inventory kind of corrects and we get a move down to test 68.02, 6,800, that area. Let's just call it 6,800 to 6,805. And price is unable to reclaim that low, that pullback low. Then I think what we start to do is look for short ideas that would target that prior pullback low from Thursday at 67.80. The overnight open is 67.80. That pullback low was 67.83. And then if bulls are feeling really froggy, then we just go after the overnight low. However, the context is kind of telling us that that's probably the longer shot. So what I'm going to be looking for is that look below and fail of 6,800. pretty sure that's on my setup sheet for this morning. So I'm looking for that 68, looking for a look below and fail of 6,800. Maybe it goes down and it tests that the high pivot of the early high of the Globex Open, which was 67.95, 67.90 to 67.95. But then looking for that move to reclaim 6,800. And that, I think that could be a really, really good move if we can get it, right? Where we come down here, we look below, we reclaim it. Maybe we show some quick acceptance, and then we can take this higher for a move, maybe even as high as a gap fill. All right. So that covers the opening drive higher. With targets being continuation, with the trade being continuation long above the overnight high that targets the Friday's low at 68.46 quarter. If we get an open, if we open and we trade lower immediately, then we're looking for a look below and fail of the 6,800, 68.02 area. All right, let's say that we open and we do a look above and fail of the overnight high. Price unable to touch to close the gap, and we come back into range. Then we'll be looking for a test of that 6,800 and possibly on that look above and fail, any retest of the overnight high for a short, maybe back into range. But I'm less excited about that idea just because of the context that I kind of outlined earlier, right? I think that if we do a look above and fail of the overnight high, unable to fill the gap, and we roll over, I'd be really cautious to see if that was a trap, where maybe we just come back in here, test this part of the distribution, and then price just goes right back up, right? So be really patient there. I mean, if that does set up and that is the look, say we go look above the overnight high, come back in, and we retest it, it's holding. If you can get a clean entry where you're not risking much, maybe 3 to 4, 5, 6 points, maybe it's worth a shot for a scalp down to test that 68, the overnight point of control. Maybe that's worth a shot. But really, the setup that's really exciting is the look below and fail of the 6,800. Conversely, the continuation long above the overnight high, which is probably materializing right here just as we open. All right, so I think that covers the upside, the downside. I think that there's going to be some great opportunities today, given the size of the gap and the context, the news environment. I don't see how we can interpret the overnight action as anything but bullish. Hopefully we'll get a good pullback here to trade it from the long side. Yeah.
Hey, good morning, Manny.
Hey, good morning, Tom. How are you?
Doing well. Yourself?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Thank you. Thanks for jumping on. Appreciate you. Price is testing that overnight high here, guys. Gosh,
Yeah, this is kind of bullish. I mean, once you think about it, I think last night I was looking, it was down 80 plus. And yeah, it's to me, even with Goldman Sachs blowing, they did good on their numbers, but I guess they didn't beat the whisper numbers. Goldman Sachs is off this morning because of earnings. But this looks somewhat bullish. If you look at the headlines, this isn't bad. I mean, I don't know how you're interpreting, but I don't see it that bad.
No, yeah. So I'm couldn't agree with you more, Tom. As I said right before you jumped on, I don't think that we can interpret this as anything but bullish.
Hmm.
Uh, the one thing that has me cautious here, just that on the open, is literally how far and how fast we've come from the overnight session. So uh, while most of the volume has taken place under prior day settlement, that normally is interpreted as an overnight inventory correction as being short. It's been nothing but upside. So I
Sure.
think that inventory is more long than
Oh, easy.
short.
Oh, yeah, that's the way to interpret it. Correct. Correct.
Good, good, good. Right. So we're on the same page there. Yeah. And so with that being said, if we do get somewhat of a little pullback here off the open, we let's be cautious. Let's wait for a good spot to get long. But I like the look below and fail kind of setup of that 6,800, 6,802 area. And I'd like to trade a continuation long kind of, where we build some acceptance above this 6830 high gamma level and kind of look for that gap fill up to 6846 to yesterday's low, or maybe even as high as the prior day's point of control and even settlement. I think if we get up there to settlement, I think this could easily print as a bullish day.
Yeah, I taking kind of a step back and looking a little bit at some context, and using profile to this, as I had said numerous times, is it's kind of a muddy profile. This is a daily chart. And we've been in this bullish or this balanced distribution since September of 25. We did come back down, test this low volume there of the probably second standard deviation, and prices were rejected pretty quickly out of there, which was a very obviously very bullish sign. And again, this is a daily chart, but we broke out. Was that Monday? Was that Tuesday of last week? When things started looking better, or Wednesday, they like I said, I kind of put a little bit of changes a 30-minute chart. We had our run up, and just looking at the value areas, we've been kind of those 3 days kind of overlapped. Really nothing, trying to absorbing the new highs. And I kind of had probably at 67.93 area. Prices this morning opened below that, and immediately, well, I shouldn't say immediately, but fairly quickly went back into the value area. So prices were rejected down there. And as you said, I think that this is bullish. I like that the prices were rejected. If prices were kind of hanging on down here, I'd probably be more maybe in the bearish area or neutral, and as a possible rotation down. I still think that this is, because prices were rejected below the 67.95 area. I think we go higher. I don't know what the low was. What was the low? 68.46.25. I think was. I think we're touching that.
Yeah, yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. I think.
Well, I mean, if
Oh
this,
yeah.
I mean, that's the issue. They're gonna kind of tell us.
Yeah, I do see that. Yep, good eye. So you can see here Russell's bid, NQ's bid. I'd just be a little bit careful here, just off the open. So personally, I'm letting this settle out for a few minutes. I like these big gaps and this this really news dense environment. It's just, I prefer to trade a little bit later in the morning. There's going to be an emotional open. But that's just me personally. I know some other guys do really good right off the open.
Yeah, it's a bigger risk reward. NASDAQ is trading within Friday's range.
Yep. Nope. Good eye. Good eye. Yep.
Russell also. What's gold doing? gold. See, kind of everything other than crude. Yeah, pretty much. You could pretty much go through it all. It's kind of touching yesterday's highs or Friday's highs, excuse me. No, Russell wants to go positive.
Hey, let's get a quick look at. Oh, so heads up here, right? So I like to dial in on the internals right away at the open, especially on these opens, because there's going to be. I'm expecting a lot of movement in them today, especially off the open, and that can give us an idea for context, right? So let's look at. So the NYSE is 1.5 to 1 negative. Nasdaq is opening 1.25 to 1 positive. The VIX is opening up 5%, gapped up. And so let's just keep an eye on those things and see how they develop throughout the day. But remember, keep in mind that the front month VIX is now priced higher than the back month. And so that we're in like a, fancy word, we're in a contango. But what that really means, right, is just that, to me, it means that there's not this, the market is not pricing in more volatility sooner as it was 2 weeks ago. So super volatile environment 2 weeks ago where the front month was priced higher than the back month. And that just kept me on my toes. I think it's a strong piece of context to frame out the day. But let's see how the VIX turns out. Obviously to see that continuation long, guys, that continuation long idea, what we want to see is a VIX gap fill, right? We want to see ticks get positive. We want to see these NYSE internals flip positive. And we want to see that VIX get below Friday's high. And that Friday's high is it's about 2030 to be 2027. So, and it's trading 2050 now.
Yeah, look at, I'm kind of glancing at some of the sectors, the tech, everything is now, obviously, other than energy, everything is, the 11 sectors are all down. And I use the iShares.
Okay, good to know. All right, so let's just keep an eye also on our opening print, 68.3475. Let's monitor that and see where price, see how price acts around that opening print. Okay, let me make sure I have. So we printed an overnight high just in the final minute. So let me just make sure I have that right. Okay, so the overnight high is 68.3475, exactly as our opening print. Okay, you don't see that every day. All right, so let's see, 68.3475. We just traded as low as what? 68.30. Oh yeah, and then we saw. All right, so heads up, guys. We opened 68.3475, right? ES traded as low as 68.3075, and now it's right back up to testing that opening print. On the low, we saw 8 contracts traded. However, that's not a really good taper there because just above it, we have a couple points above it. We have up to 900 contracts. So let's just give this a moment here to settle out. I mean, obviously, if we can't even correct a little bit that overnight inventory, what's that telling you? That's telling you the longs are going to be easy.
Yes. But you got to expect a little bit of this. As you said, the inventories are pretty long from the overnight.
Yeah, so let's just see how this plays out here. Obviously, I think so. Also, on our time study, I'm also expecting an early. Let me just make sure I'm right on that. Yeah, so I'm expecting an early morning low, and also, guys, here's another important piece. I'm not sure how many of you follow the cycle days, but today we have a cycle day 1. So the number one hallmark, or the number one thing about a cycle day, guys, is that cycle day ones tend to be where the market finds a tradable low. So that being said, we're opening up with overnight inventory more long than short. It's a cycle day one. Expectations are for the market to seek and find a 3-day pivot low. So let's watch this. Let's see how it plays out here. We're expecting a low pivot sometime in between 10:15 and 10:45. Thus far, we looked above the overnight high and came right back in. But it's definitely a tricky morning, like so it's tricky because you're bullish, but you're at highs. I mean, this is definitely a a morning where you want to be cautious. At least for myself, I want to be cautious. I know we know what we're looking for. We're looking for that. The ideal setup would be a look below and fail of that 6,800 level, or a continuation long above the overnight high.
Yeah, as everybody knows, I'm a market profile guy, and I've been doing it for a long, long time. And one of the things is, even I look at the profile, the shape of the profile, the relationship of profiles. I don't, for the overnight, especially for the overnight, exclusively for the overnight session, I don't look for that much on the formation because it's thinly traded. So I'm not saying that there's a lot of volume in here. This is the overnight point of control, or because it's easily erased. Now we're starting to get a little bit of a bid coming in here.
So look, Tom, this is I'm sure you'll appreciate this because you're the market profile guru around here. So on the gap down, right? On the gap down last night, price was unable to so we left a ton of single prints from the gap up on Thursday, right? Those single prints started at 67.34 and went as high as 67.83. We weren't even, so 67.34 to 67.83, 50 points of single prints.
Yeah.
We were unable on this gap down to even test half of that. Not bearish, guys.
Yeah. Exactly. Now let's see if we get back over the opening print.
I'm hoping to catch while I wait things out on my point and click stuff. I'm hoping to catch a couple of ATAs here. Let's see. We'll see. So far, nothing good, but yeah, gotta have a small long. And I trade these really small guys. I use the micros on them just to add some lunch money. Oh, look at that. 10 years coming off. Yeah. 10 years pulling back quite a bit here. Let's take a look at crude. All right. I'd love to get Rev's idea on crude here in that, especially on that 103 pivot. Maybe I can, let me just send Rev a message and see if he can pop in here at some point today. I know so here's heads up, guys. We're expecting, I know Danny's going to stop in today sometime between 10:15 and 10:45. Mr. Top Step's going to stop in here. He's going to give us an idea of what his thoughts are on all this stuff. Especially, we all know how good Danny is about reading, the broader context, the big market news. I love to get his insights on where this stuff is all going, the wealth of information. And then maybe I'd like to get Rev in here to see if he can lend us maybe some thoughts on that, on that, what does he think? I know obviously he's bullish crude, but I need to understand how he sees that 101, 103 pivot now. So let me send him a message and see if I can get his attention. This is an interesting post here. Hang on. Let me sort this one out. This is a good post. Let's see. Okay. Oh man, keep missing it.
So they're supposed to be starting at 10 o'clock Eastern time, correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
The embargo, they're supposed to start that at 10 o'clock Eastern time.
I think so. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
See if Rev is in here. Hang on a second. All right, guys, coming back up, trying to test that opening print again. All right. Looking to come back above that opening print here. Okay. Okay. Hey, so another heads up here, guys, about today, right? So today's configuration, cycle day 3, series 3, cycle day 1. So as I continue to share about the clock and stuff, I'll share nuances like this. So cycle series 3 day tend to be, if there's one hallmark about a series 3 day, hang on a second. Amber alert. Kidnapped child. Oh shit. So if there's one thing about a series 3 day is that it can be very choppy. Series 3's days tend to not be long shot would be a trend day. You expect two-way trade, you expect choppy price action. That's what I expect. Okay. So with that being said, trade accordingly. That I know I will. It's kind of a weird configuration in that we're at highs, right? So we're trading near the highs. We're bullish, but we're also looking for a low. On a cycle day 1, we tend to look for a low, right? So with that being said, let's be patient here. I'm going to be really, really super patient here this morning because I have a feeling that something good will materialize. It just won't be early. Let all this emotional crap garbage work itself out.
Look at the chart. I kind of did, going back, this is a 30-minute chart, and going back to last Tuesday, I put a profile on the sideways or the balance distribution since Tuesday. We had our run up, and maybe a little bit, let me take this out, maybe a little, and you've got a very clear 2 distributions, right? So we were balanced Tuesday through Thursday in this area. Friday, we rallied up. Obviously, we sold off. Excuse me. Now we're back into this distribution. And traders do that. They find the natural distributions. And this is exactly what's happening. We're playing in this distribution. If we get over the 68.47, 68.48 area, I think it's going to be much more bullish. But right now, we may have a little bit of an issue up there. It's a low volume area. That's where the distribution, that's the low volume area that signifies the beginning and end of distributions. So, obviously it was, this is Friday's action, Thursday night and Friday. So it's, once we broke that, here's where they're feeling comfortable. We may pull back down in this area. At the top here, it may be more appropriate to sell up here right now. It doesn't look like it has a lot of energy to break through. I think, again, as kind of what we were talking about, you, Manny, also same thing. Let's let the smoke clear before we start putting positions on. And I think a lot of traders are doing exactly the same thing. We're kind of waiting for a break one way or another of these distributions.
Yeah, let the rookies get chopped up in this open, right? Like let them sort themselves out, right? Well, let's trade the trap and not get trapped. But Jay Murrock asks, and I'm not sure who that's directed to. Maybe you can help us out there. But he asked, does the overnight low from last night count? I think that's okay. Good. Yep.
I would, yeah, absolutely. They're good for traders, stuff like that. When you get very precise tops and bottoms, it indicates traders or retail traders. Institutions, BlackRock doesn't care. So it's when it's very precise and prices bounce off overnight highs and lows and stuff like that. It just is an indication of retail or weaker money. What's gold doing today?
All right, so let's take a look here, guys, right? So we have, let's see. So since the open, we've now been open, not much, 17 minutes. We've come down, we've tested those into those single prints, and what? Oh, here we go.
Here we go. Look at that.
Here we go. 3 contracts traded at the low, and we're getting to move higher. I don't know if there's news out or something, but be cautious here. Hey, you know what could be another good setup is if we get that pullback low into 10:30, 10:45, which is going to be like in about, the window opens in about 15 minutes. If we can get that look, guys, to the overnight high, solid setup. So let's just be mindful of that. All right.
This is a key zone.
Price is moving here.
Watch how it reacts
quite nicely.
If prices get comfortable here, we're gone. We're going north. Yeah, but if we get over that 68.45 area, 68.46 area, if prices feel comfortable up there, we're going higher. That's Friday's high.
Yep, I think it's game on, at least up to the settlement.
Yeah.
Right. Let's just see what our settlement is. Yep. Settlement is up there at 68.55. So let's keep an eye on that. And Friday's point of control is just above that at 68.56.
Yeah, watch how the prices.
Oil dump. Good eye there. I don't know if there's news out. I'm checking the wire right now.
There may be. I don't know if
you check the feed, guys. Hang on here. Hang on. Nothing yet coming across the wire here. Nothing from Live Squawk. If I do hear something, I'll plug you guys in. The New York Post. Let's see what they're talking about. I'm sure they're not advocating for. Oh, wait, aren't they right wing?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's what I figured.
That's Murdoch.
Iran will stop uranium. Sweet, let's go.
Oh, if that's the case, well,
I'll take it. Thank you, Rev. Appreciate it. Yep, Rev just confirmed it. Iran's potential. Okay, so guys, hey, look, heads up. We just traded right to the settlement and pulled back. Obviously, that's what we're going to see here. But remember, let's be patient, looking for a long within that 10:15, 10:45 area. Any pullbacks around that area, around that time, we go. Obviously, I wish I was in this already, just near the low, but I'm not. So that's all right. I just need one good one, and I'll get it.
Too hard to trade that. It's just a headline.
Yeah, no. I mean, you have to be in it. You have to have some part of your process have you in that trade, and then then the news came out and you got a piece of it, right? I mean, I think we all know that's the only way to be participating in that. I did have a micro trade on with the ATA. Definitely not going to pay the mortgage with that one, but they help out. They help out. A couple $100 here, a couple $100 there. I'll take it.
See, that's concerning. If we get back into the value or the previous bar, that may be concerning action. But what exactly was the headline?
Iran will stop uranium, I think. Right? Yep, that's what Rev said. See what the guys in the IM Pro said. Yep. So give that like 15 minutes before Iran post and said that it's not true.
Yeah.
Right?
What are the odds?
Yeah.
What are the odds?
Yeah. Give it like 15 minutes.
I'm going to start this afternoon at 2:00 Eastern time on the swing trade room.
Great.
I'm just going to kind of break down. I'm going to spend about 10-15 minutes going through each market, all the major markets, and just say what the structure is for the day, basically the morning structure is, and how the market's breaking out going into towards the end of the day. But I'm just going to do a little bit of a breakdown for people who want market profile and a little bit more context.
Awesome. That'd be great. Hey, any insight to the markets that you plan on covering there?
Yeah, we're gonna
basket.
I'm going to talk about the major ones. I'm going to talk about the futures, the ES, NASDAQ, gold, crude, anything that is kind of relevant for the day. I mentioned earlier, Goldman Sachs came out with earnings, and we're going into earnings season also. So, Goldman came in, and go to a daily chart on this. Even though they had better earnings, better revenues, didn't beat the whisper numbers. Goldman's down. I don't know how that's affecting the rest of the financials. Actually, not that bad. It is down slightly. The financials, XLF. But we're starting to see some green. Technology is now green, and healthcare is green.
Yep, good eye there.
With energy.
Let's take a look at our sector list. I have a sector list chart here. Let's just see what we have. Okay, so heads up here. You can see on the sector list chart up on your screen. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sectors green. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sectors red. It's a mixed bag. But more importantly, our weighted AD is green. So keep an eye out for that, guys. That's so the difference between the weighted AD is measuring the performance of every sector from the open, not from the prior day's close, right? So I think especially on days like today, that really matters. If we're looking at AD, just purely AD, it's going to be measuring from Friday's close, which is probably not looking as strong as what it is yet, right? As opposed to looking at the weighted AD from the open, That's going to give us a better idea of what's happening, what stocks are doing right off the open. You guys know this stuff. If you don't, well, I'm happy to share.
You need to learn it.
Yep. Let's see.
The crude has bounced a little bit, but not to where it was prior to the headline. As obviously the E-minis, they haven't sold off. Yeah, bonds are up now.
Man, I drafted my setups yesterday, last night, and we've just blown through everything, and that happens a lot to me, because I tend to draft my setups the night before, or even sometimes early in the morning, when I wake up, which is the butt crack of dawn at about 4:30, 4 a.m. And oftentimes by the open, all the levels have just been blown by. And today's one of those days. But no worry, on those days, how I approach it, guys, is if we reach the open and my pre-planned setups have already been blown out for the day, like we're just trading really far away from any of the levels to make them relevant. I tend to take that morning really easy. Those are the mornings you're going to see me chatting a lot. I'm just kind of engaging in water cooler talk, because I'm waiting for a better read on context. I often say it, you guys will hear me often say it, I'm a shitty trader at the open. I know that well. I stay away from it. I want to get a better read on the day. Often, at least personally for me, I've had excellent results on days where I don't have a game type plan in the morning, and I wait for the afternoon, and I just nail, and I have a great day. And that's kind of like what I spoke about. That's exactly what I spoke about yesterday on Friday's stream, was about doubling down on the things that you're good at and kicking the things to the curb that you're not. So if you're a shitty trader at the open, stop. You want to have success, don't trade the open. Right? It's pretty simple. Today, then roll with that. Do more of what works.
That's just a byproduct of journaling and watching what you do. Is because you know what, it's
good point.
Back several years, but that's exactly the same thing that's happened. Is there's obviously more volatility in the morning, kind of the fear of missing out kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And did the same thing. Is, oh my God, the market rallied. Why wasn't I in there? The market sold off. Why wasn't I in there right off the open? But I kind of found that 1 out of 10 of you catching them, and those are great trades. But it's how many strikeouts. We're positive now.
Oh yeah, we're all right, guys. So we're above the volume point of control, and we're also above the settlement. Stay bullish. Look for dips to buy. Still expecting that low pivot, man. Hopefully we get it. If not, there'll be something. Something will materialize. Just if you ever have a challenge with FOMO, just tell yourself that something of quality will materialize.
But I kind of noticed that going back to is that I actually lost much more money, even though I had some really nice trades coming out of the gate. But I realized that and this was much younger in my career, that I'm a singles hitter, and I know you're a baseball coach. I'm a singles hitter versus, going for the home runs all the
time. Oh yeah, that's great point.
And I know that fits right in your sweet spot. You got to kind of figure out who you are as a trader. And I became much happier doing the same thing, exactly what you did, is kind of let's see how the day's personality comes in. And as soon as you start figuring that out, I became a much more consistent trader.
That's a great point, right? Okay, so look, let me just, to your point, Tom. How often people say, hey, emotions are the number one trap. Emotions, so much has been said about emotions, right? But the one thing that about emotions that we know is that they are going to play a role. And so
Mhm.
what I say is, don't try to uh, beat your emotions or overcome your emotions. No, I say, hey, go deeper into them, right? So here, one way of doing that, like I said earlier, if you feel so when you're trading well, that's a good feeling that evokes good emotion, right? So double down on that. And Tom made a great point about journaling, because I would not have known I was a shitty trader had I not journaled so much about it in the morning, right? So then what I mean about doubling down on your emotions is the feel good emotions, do more of that. So watch for your patterns, watch for what feels good, and then try to repeat that. And
Mhm.
when you're in a cycle of a pattern that's not feeling good, that's not serving you, then stop it, because that's going to end up being a crappy day, right? So then eliminate that and double down on the things that you feel good about. And the key thing there, the key delineator there is, do not try to force something. So don't try to force a good feeling by forcing trades. Don't try to don't try to force a good feeling by forcing something out of the market. Let the market come to you. But double down on those good feelings, do more of what works.
It's getting back into the journaling is the more I journaled, and everybody talk, like in baseball or any sports, they talk about being in the zone, and the same thing. We're a performance sport, right? As a trader, it's the same thing. Is that once you get in the zone, and I realized when I'm in the zone, it's not because I'm trading well. It's because I'm strict with my process and my structure. And that's what I noticed is when I'm structurally, when everything else is quiet and I go through and I do what I'm supposed to do every night and every morning, I trade better. And for personal lives, and we all have to go through that, is I don't trade as well when things happen, when I don't spend 2 hours after the market, or an hour and a half to 2 hours before the market looking at trades and what's going on. In fact, you mentioned that you look at stuff. I'll go through at night and go through 250, 300 charts at night, because I'm primarily an equity guy. But I'll look at stuff and I mark it up, and I'll have 25 or 30 different candidates and setups and stuff. Sometimes in the morning I look at it and go, what am I thinking of? That's not bullish. So
Yeah.
I have to do that. I kind of find my own. You got to find your own rhythm. And I think that's what's important for traders is, you can't do exactly what I do or do what Manny does, or, we got some very talented guys in here. We really do. And I think that should be noted more. There's some talent here. There's a lot of knowledge in this room. Take advantage of it, but make it your own. Pick a little bit of everything from everybody else. Make it
Yep.
fun.
You're right, Joe Mark. It's testing that settlement. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely right. And look, I mean, I have stacks. These are just stacks and stacks of journals, right? Keep them
Good
on my
man.
desk. There are two on my desk. Like, I'm constantly writing stuff down, guys. It's important. It's not just talk. Use it. It works.
Why'd you trade? What kind of mood you're in?
There was there was a hurdle in journaling for me. So after I broke the hurdle of starting to write things down, then the next hurdle became making sure I read it, right? So I got
Yeah.
really good at writing everything down, but then it was like, oh, I don't want to go read it. It was a bad day.
Yeah.
And it was when I started to set the time aside to read what was written in there was where it really made it 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 was a significant cog in the machine. And there's no one answer. This is not a one size fits all in by any means. However, it was all these little key components falling into line. It was a lot of uh taking the cliches and the things that people say journal more. It was when I started taking that stuff literally that things started to change for me. Oh,
It's,
and I think, and I'm not sure because I think we have a lot of successful people in here. I'm not sure. This is kind of probably this kind of narrative is probably speaking more to midterm traders, guys in that probably in that 2 to 5 year range who are trying to figure it out, trying to get over the hump. Sometimes I think that I mean, I was under the assumption when I was in the IM Pro, I just thought that like I just thought that everybody's making money or everybody's executing their strategy. Obviously, not everyone is going to be printing money. This is not how this works. But everyone, since they're there every day, everyone's probably trying to probably making a good living out of this, or at least paying their bills. Um, but yeah, it's important, I think, to frame that out in case anyone is struggling or having a hard time with things.
I, I was tutoring a new trader. It was about a year and a half ago, and he kind of asked me the same question of, what was there anything in your trading, looking back in your career, that really changed things for you? And obviously there's increments along the way and different things, but one of the things, and I really was blessed, and I didn't realize it back then when I just really started. I was at Lehman, and I had a client. Really, I'm not going to go into it, but he asked me a simple question, and what makes a stock move? And you kind of think of it, and you can kind of, we're talking about Goldman, earnings or this and that, but he was a really very, very bright man and very common sense. And he goes, look, there's only one thing, and it's supply and demand.
Hmm.
And if you could figure that out, and find out if you're buying, why is the guy selling? He goes, you're going to do well. And that's for me, that was one of the main impacts of me, is trying to figure out what the supply and demand. And that's why market profile, obviously with the value area imbalance and value area, it really fit in with me. And that's what, finding Pete Stottlemyre really made a huge difference in my career.
Yeah, that's great. I've I read Stottlemyre. But my era was more of a Dalton era. But it was. Gosh, I remember. I was around that time was when I was fed up with Elliott Wave. I had done DeMark.
Mhm.
Edwards and McGee fan. Pure technical analysis, pattern trading was really the way for me to go. But you know, gosh, market profile really wasn't such an important part of me understanding how markets moved, especially when applying the supply and demand, the volume profile. The volume profile became an important part. I mean, you use what works and you throw out what doesn't. And there have been more things thrown out than that I have kept, but obviously market profile is immensely important. I still have Jim Dalton seminars that I was watching that I had on like VHS tapes. No,
Mhm.
not sorry. Let me not say that. It wasn't a VHS tape. It was a DVD, but it was old. I'm sorry. I'll show it to you guys one day. You can see how it's recorded. It looks like it was recorded with like a VHS camera that's like the size of a suitcase.
When we started with market profile, I think at the time we started, you couldn't even get the information on a computer. You had to
Wow.
work with, I think it was a CME or Chicago Board of Trade, and they sent you this almost like a fax machine, and they would print them out. And it was kind of on this heat paper, and after 3 or 4 days, it would just fade away. It was just crazy back then.
Hey, real quick read on the internals: 1-to-1 positive on the NYSE, so we've got a flip there, and 2-to-1 positive on the Nasdaq. Let's
Really?
see, 10 years coming off a bit. Crude is down to Hey, so heads up on crude, guys. Important development there on crude, right? So crude is now into its gap. So crude gap, it's Sunday morning low. Sorry, Sunday night low was in the area of 101.90 to 102. We are now trading below that, and so we're into the gap there. So obviously very bullish. That kind of lines up with what we're seeing on ES though too.
Yeah. Yes. It's just the opposite. But yeah, it's all telling the same thing. All in all, just kind of, if you really look at it, if we turn the machine on right now, it's like, oh, okay, the market's off 2 points, right? The E-mini's off a couple points. The crude's up about 4 points. It would be kind of a no big deal. Goldman's still off 39 points, 40 points. How low did it get today? Well, we got earnings this week. You got obviously the banks. Who's coming out? J.P. Morgan's coming out this tomorrow. Citi, Wells Fargo. Oh, we got PPI tomorrow too.
Yeah, good call. Yep. Let me just see something here. Let's take a look at that GS chart. Holy crap, I don't have anything on GS. That's interesting. All right. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm going to have to chart this later on.
Yeah, watch the financials this week. That's why I'm a little... Yeah, and the financials are basically flat, even with Goldman getting hit. But
weekly kind of has like this rising wedge look. Let's see.
semis are still doing really well. We're in yesterday's range. We really didn't sell off.
I think we pointed it out.
Semis. Yeah, they're up about 21 points in the last 2 weeks. No, 9 bars. Yeah, 2 weeks roughly.
Hang tight, guys. Give me a few minutes here.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, the semis are semiconductor, the SMH really exploded above in this new band. Again, for me, you've got a distribution at the 420. If prices stay up here, I think we push higher on that. If we get below the 422 area, we may stay back down in this distribution. But just 2 cents on the SMH. And obviously, as tech goes, it really has a big impact on the market. And here's what's tricky. I mean, in my interpretation of what's going on, my humble opinion, as I said, you've got this pretty strong distribution, low volume area at the 68.45, 68.46 level. We're trading above that, but our price is comfortable. Again, so we're kind of straddling the line here on going higher, or if this pulls back down here, we may start rotating down towards the 67.96 level. But that's just my interpretation on the short term is, our prices didn't feel comfortable.
There he is.
Who's that guy?
Welcome to the show, Diddy.
No, there it is. I got it. Simulate.
Yeah, bonds. All in all, things other than the morning, be kind of quiet. I mean, they had that little bump that we were talking about with that headline, but not moving that much.
All right, guys. So heads up here. We're coming back down into to test Friday's value area low.
Can you guys hear me?
And yesterday's
Danny?
low.
Yeah, Marlon.
Yes.
I'm in there now.
We can hear you, Marlon. We can hear you, Danny.
Danny and Tom.
Yes, I can hear you, Marlon.
Hey,
Danny
good
hears me.
morning,
Tom?
Ron.
Hey, good morning, guys. And Danny's in here. Can you guys hear Danny?
Yeah.
Check.
Forefront. All right. We're all set. Have fun.
Thanks, Marlon. So heads up on dips, guys. I wanted you to stay alert to let me see, what is this? 68.40. All right. If we get back below yesterday's low, which is 68.46 quarter, we're now trading below value area low at 68.47 half. If we get below there, right, what I'm looking for here is a test of that 68.40, which is our opening range high, right? Look for that to stick as support. Want to maintain the bullish stance here. Obviously, any test of overnight high should hold too as well. And we are now into that window for that AM pivot low. So just kind of highlighting the areas that I'm looking at and what we hope to see here. We're getting the pullback we expected off of the settlement and Friday's volume point of control.
Good job, Manny. Hey,
Thanks.
Tom, how you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. How about yourself?
Good.
Danny, what do you think about this this craziness that's going on? Strait of Hormuz is open, Strait of Hormuz is closed, now, or is it open, is it closed? I don't know. I can't keep up. What are your thoughts on all of this?
Well, I mean, I think there was a headline that just came out from the New York Times that said that Iran was willing to talk about their uranium enrichment. So I don't know. It's so fluid.
Mm-hmm.
1 minute it's no good, 1 minute it is. But I mean, we all know how, like, when they open down hard or on Globex and they start rallying, that somebody's out there trying to save it. So I don't know.
I took the night session out of the E-mini trade, E-mini chart, and it just looks much more bullish.
Yeah, no, it does.
So it kind of, where we opened, kind of immediately ran into Friday's range and seems comfortable in here.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing. That's the thing with, you take a look at on the electronic version or overnight, is it looks maybe a little bit more bearish, but it's just as long as we stay up above that 68.46 area. I got to say, it's bullish. If we get comfortable up here, I think we start rotating towards the highs.
I think that nobody really wants this war, and I know that Trump wants out of it. It's just whether he can get himself out of it. I'm just going back a little bit in time when I was writing the opening print about 2.5 weeks ago. It looked like the S&P was starting to back and fill, like at the 6,500, 65 half level.
Mm-hmm.
And then we popped up and we've been holding 6,800 for what now? Almost 2 weeks, right, Manny? Around that level. And I remember going back that I said that if the S&P was going to break 6,500, there was an air pocket there. And I kind of was zeroing in on 6,300. 63.50, and I think we got down to what 63.53 or something like that.
No,
I can't remember.
the lows were
Yeah.
63.52, 53.
Yeah.
You're right.
And then I was looking at the chart today, and I think like what Manny's talking about, he's right. You start pushing above this level, and then you're going to kind of run into like the 6,900 or 6,920, 6,930, 50 level. I mean, above there, if you start getting up into there and you can hold a rally above there, I think you got a clear shot at 70.50 again, but again, this is all just kind of looking at a longer term picture. And to tell you the truth, it's for me, it's been a difficult trade. I'm always a buyer. I mean, I'm always a bull. And I just think that keeping it in my mind that the Iranians don't really want to negotiate, I mean, and then you have this thing over the weekend and it just completely collapsed. But how long can Iran keep the Strait of Hormuz closed with an oil embargo going on? I mean, 50% of all the oil that China takes, 50% of all the oil that China gets comes from Iran. So how long can this go on?
They afford it? How long could they afford it?
Yeah.
Not being able to sell oil.
So it's a tough call. I mean, I really believe that, Trump wants an end to this war, but it's going to have to be on a little bit more on, I think, the U.S.'s terms and Iran's terms. And then I don't know, I was just kind of scanning around. There was a headline came out that J.P. Morgan said investors should start buying the dip that we've got a V-shaped bottom here, and the markets are going to go back up. So I don't know. I mean, in the long-term picture, I would think that we would go back up.
I mean, all in all, I think this market's been very, really resilient. Consider the headlines. If I would have told you that the crude is trading over 100, you probably would have thought the market would have been down more. And I mean, just rough from the highs, we're down what? On the E-minis, 3%, 3.5%.
Yep.
I mean,
well, LNG looks like the one that's the troublemaker, right?
Yes.
Do you have an LNG? Can you pull up an LNG chart, Tom?
I got high nat gas.
Yeah.
Oh, this is copper. I'm sorry. There we go.
Oh.
Yeah. There's a daily chart of nat gas. So we're kind of trading where we were in 2023.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the one that really took off.
What is LNG?
Nat gas.
Okay, got it. Check.
Yeah, there's a lot of risk there. I mean, I think that Qatar's a lot of Qatar's like energy structure has been blown up. So, and they say it's going to take quite a while to rebuild. I mean, I would think that LNG will still remain fairly big.
Mm-hmm.
So Manny, we've been moving forward pretty well with the pit room, and thanks to you. Thank you very much.
Manny does an excellent job and should be applauded.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Having a lot of fun in here with you guys.
Now, we've got the swing room going, right?
Yep.
Getting there, yes.
Yeah. And the girls are coming on. When are they? Lauren and Danny, are they?
Yeah, so I think that's pretty exciting, right? I think Lauren and Danny are on the docket for this week on Wednesday. I'm going to double check with David here at noon. We'll have all those developments. We have a Pitbull meeting at 12:30 today, which will get the week ironed out, and we'll know more or less what the week is going to look like. Looking forward to that, and stay tuned for developments on on what's going to happen for the rest of the week. I think as we continue to build this out, you guys are going to see, what kind of value we've been working on. A lot of the things that we've had slated haven't fully materialized yet, but we've been working on a lot of cool stuff to bring a lot of value to the room. And hopefully this week is going to be a good part, a big development in that area.
Yeah, we as I mentioned, in fact, I misspoke. I'm going to be from 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock Eastern time. I'm going to spend about 10, 15 minutes going through the major markets, the E-minis and stuff, just giving the breakdown of structurally what's been going on for the day on the market profile.
That's great.
I'm not. I mentioned it was going to be in the swing room. It's not. It's going to be in the pit room.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Tom, what I want, I was going to call you last night. I want to talk to you about a little bit more longer term trading, more swing trades for myself. I've been having a problem scalping this stuff. I mean, and I think there's a lot of folks out there that probably say the same thing. And I didn't tell you this, but or maybe I have, but I can't remember. But when you tutored Cole, Cole's been doing trader funding, and he's been making money doing it. And he told me the other day, which I don't know if I agree with this. Stick to your college education, right? I mean, he was very smart, but he said that the job market's been tough. He's not finding what he wants, and if it keeps going like this, he's going to do like his dad and become a full-time trader.
Oh,
pretty
wow.
cool.
Good to know. That's pretty cool.
And Andy, just so everybody remembers, I remember going in and saying that we were going to give Cole a crash course on market profile, and everybody kind of chuckled,
Yeah.
Tom, he picked it up pretty quick, didn't he, Tom?
Very smart. Made me feel bad about myself.
Well, he credits you. I mean, he's very good about that, and he's a big market profile guy now, and he's actually talking about working for a company and helping. I don't know exactly what it is. Or he's involved in a coding company that he's still doing some coding, but they're asking him now if they could, the guys that are doing the coding, if he'll teach them a little bit about trading rather than just the coding side. So it kind of goes along with our educational thing, right? I mean, and I'm very proud of him. I mean, it's been really cool to watch.
This market, it's resilient.
So
that's one of the great things about what we have here is just that there's such a wealth of knowledge, especially for guys who are just getting started like Cole. You can see that the proof is in that pudding. Cole is obviously gaining traction and thinking that maybe this is a career that he can move forward with, and I wish him well, and maybe we'll be able to get Cole in here and he can participate and become a part of the Pitbull chat.
I think he will. I think he's about. I think he decided to stay an extra year in school, and like I believe. I mean, and I'm not the only one that knows this. The job market's pretty tough out there.
Yeah,
and he showed me his blotter the other day, or his trader funding blotter. And he's running 3 or 4 accounts, and he's already been pulling money out. And this is something I told him from day one. He originally pulled some money out of his own bank account, and I said, Cole, just do trader funding. Join Pitbull Traders. I don't know if he's got an account with us or not, but he said he was going to start. But yeah, I'm really happy about the whole process. Marlon's really worked hard. You've worked exceptionally hard. We've got a really, really good team of guys. And just can we get the schedule going so that there's more consistency and kind of give you a little bit of breather? I know you've been really working hard, Manny.
Yeah. Sorry about this. This week I missed.
No worries. You know that's interesting. You bring that up about cold, Danny, because I remember it seems like just yesterday when I first met Cole and he was just getting underway, and I think that I think that harkens back to like why we started the Pitbull Traders and the funding company and stuff. It was just there are a lot of funders out there who are just providing access to an account, and then it's kind of like, all right, here's the keys to this Porsche or this Ferrari, good luck.
Yeah.
And there's a gap out there, in that a lot of people, a lot of new traders come on, and then initially they struggled, and they ultimately they get a funded account, and then they crash out and burn. There's really no pathway, or there's really no value in terms of, hey, this is how you trade. This is what good trading looks like. This is what bad trading looks like. They give you 5 and 10 accounts, and they tell you have at it, and it's tough. And so what we're trying to do is bring people in and say, hey, look, this is how you can actually make a living at doing this, right? It's not the cowboy style of trading that you might think it is. Day trading is, it's you have to have a professional approach. You have to have a disciplined mindset. And we show people day in and day out. At least that's what I'm trying to bring to the table here, and show guys, hey, let's pick our spots. Let's take trades that make sense. Let's follow a logic chain that this way, and that hopefully you can repeat on your own when Manny's not around, when Tom's not around, when Danny's not around.
Yeah. Well, I've always, when I was on the floor, I really, really did my thing to try to create something at the desk that helped traders on the execution side. But when we started Mr. Top Step, it was with Pete and John Nigerian. And that whole thing was about furthering kind of the information flow that we created through the desk and getting it out there a little further. And obviously they didn't do the right thing. But anyways, one of the things I think that is funny about where we're at now, and I'll just go back to some of you guys don't know who Leo Riot is, but he's got his own trader funding company, and he was part of Apex. And he was the guy that has the big lawsuit against Apex. He created their risk system. But one of the discussions I had with Leo was, we wanted to be different. We wanted to create an educational leg of the trader funding, whereas like if a trader was having problems, we had enough really, really smart people in there that could educate or kind of help walk people through the process. And Leo, one of the first things Leo said was, well, why would you do that? Why do you want to help traders make money? If somebody wasn't out there helping traders make money, there wouldn't be any traders out there. And I think it's all part of an education process that goes back to that guy on the trading floor at the Board of Trade, Charlie DeFrancisco, who used to run classes at the Board of Trade before the bond pit opened. And I was actually part of some of those classes. And I remember in one particular class, the Board of Trade actually gave him a classroom. They didn't charge him anything. He was one of the best bond traders in the pit. And I remember in the back of the room, there was this small local that was in the bond pit. And the guy kept, Charlie would say, is there any questions? And guys would, hey, Charlie. And one guy in the back kept saying, hey, Charlie. And finally, Charlie said, hey, go ahead. What's your question? And the guy said, well, what do you think about the guy that comes in and, only trades for the first half hour and makes $1,000 and walks out? And I remember what Charlie said. He said, well, you're never going to make $1 million doing that, So it's not something that you can just spend a little bit of time doing. It's going to be something that you're going to have to put all your effort into. And I admit, I still struggle with my own. But I think it's really more a style than it is me not having a good feel for the market. And I do, like I said to Tom, I think that this interday stuff is, Manny, you do it really well. the intraday stuff has become harder for me. I mean, I'm a bull market guy, and I'm selling the gaps up, and they go down a little bit, and then a headline comes out, and it's I think, I think you can speak for this too, Tom. It's more of a trend following thing where you're going more with the trend and where the charts are going, and not like kind of picking blips or little areas during the day where you can make a little bit of money, whereas you're missing like the whole bigger picture. Would you agree with that, Tom?
I agree. I think for me, and this is no reflection of anybody, but it's for me. And I am a swing trader, but I do scalp. If I see something here and there, and I'm just finding it very difficult to find alpha in scalping right now. And again, it's me. I agree with what you're saying. And you have headlines that from time to time impact trading, but the headlines are coming out so frequently. You're getting 2 a day, 3 a day that are smacking you out of a trade that you're right at. You go through and say, oh, well, here's where I want to go long, here's where I want to go short, so on. You put in discipline, a headline comes out, grabs your stops or whatever, and 2 seconds later, you would have been profitable. So that's my 2 cents. And again, that's why, for me, the swing trading fits. And it doesn't mean, because I go have these discussions. There's advantages of going to bed at night with being flat.
Yeah.
You sleep a lot better.
Tell the pit bull that. I mean, he's been really swinging big positions, 50,000, 60,000, 80,000 shares of, this or that. And, last night, obviously, when the market opened down, he's like, God damn it, I knew I shouldn't have gone home long over the weekend. Then this morning, obviously, the market's rally, and, he's been big on Netflix. And I guess it was down to Dow already, got out of some, and the news starts hitting, the S&P goes unchanged, but I mean, and again, I'm not giving it up. I'm not going to give up scalping, but I do want to learn more about the swing room.
Well, I was long last week, fairly strong, and this is XLK or technology. I had an area in here on my chart, if anybody could see, this was just a pretty strong distribution. Prices pulled back and rejected being out of this distribution. I kind of went long. I went long on that Monday, a week ago, Tuesday, and then I just got lucky. I was way too long. It was just a bad time, but I just got lucky with Trump coming out and saying we're going to kind of ease off on the war. We're going to suspend it. So that turned out to be a really nice trade for me.
That looks like a good one.
Yeah, but it's again, I do a lot of the option part of it. I'll just buy spreads on it. So
So what's I find what's good, guys, and Danny, you're onto something, right? I think so personally, I have some swing positions that I tend to put on that I don't speak about very often. That's why I'm always looking at the equities and basing those entries off of my reads on SPX and ES and so on. And you're not wrong in thinking that way, because a majority of the gains in those accounts for me, guys, come overnight.
Yeah.
Like so it'll just be a gap up and whatever. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, cool, look, this position's up 7%, 8%, I'll take it. And I'm not monitoring every bit. I can sit through a drawdown. It's not 20-to-1 leverage on some of those positions. But I think it's important to have a mix of both, right? So where, like even in my day trading stuff, right? So I'm executing, I have a solid trade plan I put out every day. I share it with the group and I'm trading those setups. Maybe I'll try to take a trade or two around that if it doesn't pan out. I also run the PTG ATAs, and I run those on a much smaller scale. I use the micros for those, so it's a mixed bag, right? I try to get a little bit. I try to not have all my eggs in the day trading basket, and that kind of takes the edge off of needing day trading to pay. Like, all right, you know what? So, I'm down a couple grand today in the day trading account. Let's see what, but I made $500 or $600 in my with my PTG ATAs, and the swing account is doing X. So it kind of softens the blows of the down days. If I was only day trading and looking for all of my revenue or my income from there, it's it can get difficult. Yeah, it's challenging, but it's not impossible. I've also had my best, some of my best weeks and months have been because I was, day trading, ES. I mean, it wasn't too long ago I had a $70,000 day, and that day made up a huge portion of that year's gains. And I could not have gotten that from swing trading, Apple or Microsoft.
Absolutely.
But I think you have to have a clear mixed bag. And one of the things that I've done that has paid off tremendously is to trade less, be a little bit more mindful of picking my spots during the day. And when it's not working, I'm just putting it down, like just go do something else, focus on something else for the day. It's a long week. And that's kind of what works for me.
Yeah, trade less and pick your spots better, right?
Yep.
Be a sniper.
Yep.
I mean, you guys know I used to have that late day trade nailed down, and that thing is just completely blown up. It's
that was a really good trade there for a bit, right? And and so that I think there's something to be learned about from there, Danny, is that sometimes when a trade is working, rockets or the wheels fall off, right? And then when it's not, you have to kind of go back to your bag of tricks and kind of pull something else out.
Your trading toolbox. Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I like the opens too, because if you can hit the open,
if you get it right.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. We were talking about that earlier. There's much more. The reward or risk is much better, or because it's much more volatile coming out. And you catch one of those are great. But
well, it pays for your mistakes if you hit it right in the morning, right?
That's it.
Yeah. I'd say, and the thing is, also right with and God, like you were mentioning Cole trading multiple accounts. If I were to speak to Cole when I do, I'm gonna say this to everyone. If you're starting out or if you're struggling, more accounts is not the answer. Trade less, figure out, try to get something that's working, and then double down on that leverage when you're trading well. I feel like a lot of prop firms offer you all these accounts and all these avenues to trade. And what does that do, right? That just so let's say you don't get the open right? All right, so I just hit that first target. Nice. So let's say you don't get the open right. You're just going to pivot instead of saying, okay, well, let me look at my risk. Let me look at where my account is. You're just going to pivot to another account and start trading more. Then what happens 6 months down the line? 6 months down the line, you're just trading, as much as you can. And then you're going nuts and you're kind of losing your way. During that time, you didn't pause to take a minute to figure out what is working, what is not working. And I think that that's important for people to understand.
Yeah. I listen to Niels a lot on his trading. And he's actually a very good trader, and he knows those things that he shouldn't be doing, right? And one of them is trading on Fridays, and he's gotten so close to getting big payouts. I think at one point he was looking at a $15,000 payout, and all he had to do was not lose a bunch of money, and overtrade, and then he blows up all the accounts. And
went on tilt in one day and lost it all.
Yeah. And I think that there's some patterns in there, right? You kind of get to know what you could or should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. And when you go and you violate that stuff, that's when you get kind of caught off. guard. But it's the same. Usually, it's the same thing that I hear from him. He was bored. He was trading when he shouldn't have been. He was trading on Friday, his worst day, and I think there's patterns there that you can notice.
Absolutely.
Here's
another.
How many bad stories start with he was bored?
Yeah.
Guys, here's an interesting story, right? So the first time I joined Mr. Top Step, I think it was like 2011, 2012, right? And I didn't know my ass from my elbow. Now, what ended up happening was I would see a lot of guys that were way more experienced than me, and they were, posting their trades and they were making money. And I would end up following one guy or following another guy, so on and so forth. And, at the end of the day, I just lost money, right? Not every day, but ultimately the sum game was that I couldn't follow anybody else's strategy. And then I remember I kind of put the room down and I focused on my own stuff. I said, all right, if I'm going to lose, I'm going to lose on my own volition. Right. And so I put everything down and I kind of developed. That's when I went through it all. Right. So I started studying patterns, market profile. I needed to gain a strategy, and I started working on the trade plan and so on and so forth. And it was because I tuned everything out that I was able to find who I was as a trader and find what I wanted to do. And that was the key time for me. I don't think I would have survived much longer. And so remember that, if it doesn't serve you to trade better, put it down, go find something that does.
Yeah. Well, the boredom trading is what gets me, and the over trading. That's really
Yeah. Yep. It's tough because, look, you're sitting in front of your computer, right? You take, you lose something. Let's say you lose, $500, $600, and right there is a one click. Your brain is telling you, hey, one click away, you could probably just make that back, right? And you're like, yeah, why not try it? Why not try it? And that kind of is when and that's primarily the time when you shouldn't be trading because you're not seeing clearly. Right, you're not seeing the tape. That's when we have to get up. We have to walk away. We have to clear our head and then come back. And if you guys ever been through it, which I'm sure you have, where you've had bad morning and came back the afternoon, just stepped away from the market, didn't think about it, came back later and did better, or came back the next day and did better. I think that's probably the best advice I could give people out there on bad mornings. Just put it down, come back later.
No, we've all faced. We it's just human nature, and that's where disaster happens. That's where you're sitting there, you're looking at your screen, you had a bad trade in the morning, you're looking at it. I need to get back. And for me, I remember there's a couple times, and it's kind of like, oh, I should short here, and it pulls back, and it's like, okay, next one I'm taking. I'm back in tune with it, and I'll leverage up, and it just makes it much worse.
Yeah. That's never the answer.
Well, JB just responded. He said something, learn something from everyone. And since he's been in the room, I think he's really one of those guys that picks up on the good stuff and uses it, applies it to his own trading. And I mean, but back to what you said, Manny, down $500 and you think you can make it back, and then you're down 1,100, and then the thing just kind of spirals. You know what I mean? And one of the things that I'm trying to learn, and I'm trying to teach Marty this too, but he continues to say, well, what else am I going to do? Well, I think that there are times that you have to get up from the desk. I don't think sitting here all day long looking at every tick helps you.
Oh no! Yep. No. That's the worst. You can't do it. I mean, that will literally so think about it like this. Maybe you can do that on Monday morning, but by Monday at least by Tuesday or Wednesday, you're worn out. Your brain cannot handle that much data processing and make sound decisions. You have to step away and reboot. So think about it like this. You guys all know I'm a baseball coach, right? So in sports, professional athletes, we are all professionals. Professionals, they play a game, right? And the preparation for that game is probably how they spend 80% of their life, and then they spend that 80% preparing for that 20% moment, right? So we can't expect ourselves to perform at peak thinking, processing all this data, and make good decisions all the time. You have to step away, you have to reboot, refresh, and oftentimes that's the best thing for you.
Yeah. And the other thing I think is, everybody's got stuff going on in their lives, right? And personal stuff affects your thinking. It's like,
No question.
Oh,
right,
yeah.
Tom? I mean, your wife was just in the hospital and she's okay, right? I mean, everything came out all right.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate all the everybody following.
Good to hear. Thanks.
And,
I forgot to ask about that. Sorry.
and Manny, you're right about I think if there's anybody in the room that can make a good comparison about trading and baseball, it's you. It's okay to hit the singles and doubles and triples. Don't try to hit the home run.
Beneficial.
Oh yeah. Nope. Yep. It is. It is. You know what? It's like the little wins. The little here's a hack that I use. So if I take a loss, say, I typically I tell myself, hey, I'm gonna enter the market with a 10-point stop. I hate to take a 10-point stop. I rarely take a 10-point stop because I know it fucks with my head, right? So when that happens to me, immediately the very next thing I'll do is I understand, hey, I need a win here. Like, it doesn't matter how big it is. I just need a win. And guys, that does so much for me. Just getting a baby win, a small win, 3-4 points, and then I step up, I get up and I step away. And that kind of, I don't know what it does for me personally, but it helps me.
Dopamine.
Yeah, it just helps me say, oh, you know what? I'll get back. Let me just rethink what I'm doing and step away and come back calm and collected. But getting that little win after a loss is really crucial for me. And if I have I have a tool that I called, and I shared it with David's room, and David in his room is called, SLP. It's stop loss protocol. And essentially what that is if you take a stop that is affecting your psyche, then hey, you have to get up and step away from the screens, step away from your computer for at least 10 minutes until you can clear your head. And that doesn't mean so I used to, when I first created it, I would step out of my desk and go outside, and I'd be looking at price on my phone. This doesn't work. I'm beating the system. It's like I literally put it down and step away. Yep. Get in the car, go for a ride, remove yourself from that environment and come back. And what I learned is now I'll say, hey, after I took a big loss, I think last week I had a 13-point stop. And now I know I'm the worst part is over. If I stepped away, I limited the damage. The worst part is over. Now it's all right, so what am I going to do now? Where's the market? What trade makes sense?
Well, you'll think of this as crazy, but sometimes I just go outside and I get the leaf blower and I clean up my front yard or do the pool or whatever I can do just to get away.
Hey man, whatever works. That sounds like that sounds like a system to me.
No,
for sure. Yep.
Well, Marty calls me. What are you doing? Are you leaf blowing?
That's kind of funny.
It's funny you say that because I do the same thing. It's such a satisfaction.
Yeah,
I got something accomplished.
But I do have good news. We sold one of the houses.
Oh, nice. Good job.
Yeah. It's been a really, it's like anything in life. You make choices, and there was a local woman that was selling homes here, and she wasn't negotiating very well. And for the last 2.5 months, I think that there was social media had gotten 150,000 hits on the homes. And she had these open houses where there would be 30, 40 people that would come a day. And every time we would hear it, and again, this is kind of like trading too. You're always going to hear the bad stuff, right? And I was trying to talk to her, and I said, I don't want to hear anything more. We already know what they don't like about it. you know. Start talking about what they do like about them, you know.
There
And
you go.
so last Thursday, we released her. And
Okay. You got a new agent?
yeah, on Friday morning, I got a text message from a guy who I met years ago when I moved here. And his name's Tom Daly. And he hit me on Facebook Messenger and said, hey, I saw that you got rid of that broker. And I said, yeah. He said, well, my partner is the one that's been negotiating with the former broker. And I said, he said, if you get a minute, call me, you know. So I called him up. He said, if you don't mind, I'll put you on, you know, I'll have call you. And this was Friday at like 4:00 in the afternoon. And the woman calls me up, and actually I kind of knew of her, I think, or I've met her. And we started talking. I said, I'm going to tell you, I'm not a broker. You know, I mean, maybe I should have been. And I said, I'm just going to tell you that the bid that she put in was too low, your buyer. And I said, I just want to tell you that we know that these homes are really nice. They're the lowest priced new homes in the neighborhood. And I said, we're not accepting lowball offers. I said, we can make this really easy right now.
We're hitting highs right now.
What is your buyer's best bid? And she popped out a number. And I said, we got a deal. And on Friday afternoon, they wrote up the agreement, and everything's been signed. And it's an all cash deal. And they're going to move in by the end of the month. So
that's great to hear, Danny. I know that's been weighing on you and your wife and your family, and I'm really happy to hear that you guys have some breathing room now. You know, I just, you know, I you know, we've talked about it a lot often. I've developed a ton of homes here in Florida, and I know what that can be. Yep, I know what that can be like. And if that agent was only bringing you people that weren't interested in the property, then I think you did the right thing. Look, you switched agents, and you got, and look at what happened. So good for you. And I know the area, and I saw the homes. You know, I have a hard time believing those things weren't going to sell.
Yeah. Well, 13,000 carrying costs a month. That's like, so my head is a little bit more clear. Still got one to go, but no, it's pretty good, you know, and it's relieved a lot of stress. And like I told Tom, I really do want to start looking at the swing stuff. Again, I'm not going to quit my scalping, but I think that they're, with the markets, when they move this much in one direction, you don't want to be in there fighting it, you know. And I'm always the guy. I'm always a bull. You know, and I should always be buying these dips, and I haven't been doing it. So, gotta get my head.
Yeah,
back.
you know, I'm kind of kicking myself too, because I don't know. So here, I put out the setups earlier today in the morning at 6:58. I wanted to look below and failed 6,800. I saw a trade down there, guys, and I was about to pull the trigger, and I didn't. I walked away because my daughter was talking to me or whatever. I was distracted. And look, that would have been my trade for the day. I would have been in a runner. I would have been fine. And now I'm left. Look, and this is a good example, guys. Look, real world example, right? So while we've been chatting, I told the guys in the room, I posted in the room that I got long the S3 low, which was the plan, right? Right. Instead, I got this shitty price of 68.54, which is basically long above the settlement. But sticking to the plan, I bought the S3L AM low dip. I had 68.54, and then I added to it. So while we were talking, I was like under it for a few points, and I just turned the chart off. Like, I stopped looking at it. I started focusing on our conversation. Because if I'm going to be stopped out, I'm going to be stopped out. I don't want to look at every tick. Yeah. And it was funny because we were talking about that, and I was like, I'm not looking at that trade right now. Screw that. You know, it's not really working out really well right now. So let me just see. I know where the stop is. If it's gonna stop out, then I know what the loss is gonna look like. I'm not gonna stay here and look at it. But yeah, that's just a good, you know, real world example right there. I really wanted the 6,800. God, that would have been a great Monday for the week. But I'll, you know, we have, I think what we're doing here is we're building out great logic chains throughout the morning, right? About what trades make sense. Tom came in here and lent some great insight this morning. When you have that much experience and when we have that much technique being applied to it, it's really going to produce a lot of quality movements as opposed to just, you know, haphazardly trading and going in there and just kind of trying to figure it out on your own.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, you got to have a purpose. You know, like you said, your friend doing it, like you mentioned, Manny, is, and I think it really is appropriate. Is okay. I need to do me. You know, I need to learn to trade the way I want to trade, and you know those are usually the incremental steps that you make that make you a much more successful trader.
Yeah.
And you know what? Think about it, guys. Like, so we don't need, you know, so we don't need a ton of trades a day. You know, really what you're looking for is, you know, one or two good trades. Like, I mean, so think about it. I remember I had this stat, right? And so I was trying to, and I was going to do this show, and I'm still planning to do it on here, where I'm going to map out and show people, like I did it for myself. I said, okay, I want to make 250K this year from trading. And I mapped it out. And then when I simplified it, I simplified in terms of, okay, here's how much I can lose for the week, but here's how much I have to gain for the week. And I think it came down to like something like I needed to get like on 3 contracts, I needed to get like 6 or 7 points a day. Think about that, right?
Yeah.
So then why is it so hard to hit that 250K mark? Well, it becomes, what are the weak points, right? So the weak points are when we take a loss and we don't hit that 6 or 7 point target a day, that then we start doing, you know, haphazard trading, or we hit the 6 or 7 points, or we take 10 points on a move and then we go right back in, right? So it's about, for me, I want to explain to people that hitting that goal is really less about your strategy, and it's more about how you conduct yourself and how you approach the market on a trading day. If you get your 6-7 points, step aside, go do something else. Don't sit in there trying to click buttons all day long. You won the day. Stay a winner.
Yeah, I think we had this conversation early, a few weeks ago, of okay, if I got $1,000 a day that I want to make, and you hit your $1,000 at 10 o'clock, do you walk away, or do you continue to trade?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I continue to trade.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my philosophy is, you know, it's that's what I want to do. If I've got a successful strategy, you know, it's kind of like, you know, I want to be a 400 hitter, or I want to be a 300 hitter. Do you stop? You know, I'm 2 for 3 today, or you know, do you stop swinging? No, I think you still continue to do. If you're doing what you're doing is successful, you continue to play that. You still continue to do that.
And so, Tom, that's a great point, right? Because now there's 2 different perspectives, right? And there's no wrong way to do it, right? So if you hit your $1,000 and you say, hey, I am going to continue to trade. Okay, that's one way of doing it, and that works. That works. It's about having that structure, though. You know that, hey, if I have 1,000, if I hit my target, I'm going to keep trading, and you build structure around that approach. That's what's important. The details matter less than following and sticking to the broader structure.
Well, it's the money management and risk.
Well, Tom, when you were studying under Peter Stoudemire,
correct,
was there anything that he taught you about trading more or trading less? Was it? It was really a kind of a neat setup, and I think this kind of answers your question to a degree. Is Pete was we were in this kind of cabin up in the Sierra Mountains. And there was, and one of the traders was a doctor,
He was a practicing doctor.
Yeah,
like
doctors.
And this guy, and I remember, and we would go and Pete would talk in the morning, and then we'd have a trading session while the market was on, and everybody was trading. And in the beginning, it was like on Monday or Tuesdays talking to this guy. He goes, "Well, how much did you make on that?" "Well, I'm just paper trading." And Pete was like, "Nice, you got to get involved," and blah blah blah. And it was like towards the end of the week, the guy goes, "No, I'm still kind of paper trading." He kind of got mad. Like, "What are you doing?" To kind of, in a loose way, answer your question, you got to be in there. And that was Pete's thing: is you got to be in there. You got to be experiencing what the market's doing. That's where you're going to learn. Teaching us a lot of these, and that was the whole thing. And you kind of break it down. Is one of the things is how Pete's with market profile is acceptance and rejection of price. And that's really what it comes down to.
Right.
And
Bueller said he created a daily trading stop account, so he keeps going.
I kind of agree with him.
Yeah. And then Jeff Z said that he sometimes continues to trade after he hits his goal, but he lessens his size. That makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of times when I'm not kidding. There's a lot of times when I'm up $500, $600, $700 right off the bat in the morning, and then I continue to trade, lose 250, lose 300, and then literally I'm back to square one, or I'm down on the day.
I should have stopped. But there's also the days that I hit my nut, but I keep trading and I added on to it. So it depends.
There's more than one way it's just going to cut. I think that's what we're seeing here, right? Is that what suits you, right? So I said if I have 2 losses and I feel shitty about those losses, right? Don't like the red in the account, I'm going to step away because I know I can't trade anymore. I'm losing my edge. But that doesn't necessarily work for everyone else, and it shouldn't be what people stick to. But what we have to do is find, because everybody's different, right? So we all need to find our own way of approaching the market and stick to that structure. That's kind of what I said earlier today, was about double down on don't move away from your emotions, move more deeply into them, in the sense of when I'm trading well and it feels good, what is that feeling? What may bring that feeling to an end, and how can I tap more into that? When I'm feeling shitty, how do I make sure that I don't turn a shitty trade into a shitty day, into a shitty week? Make sure I don't unravel. Go more deeply into those feelings and your patterns of behavior, and try to work around those things, right? I mean, I could have never had some upside days if I didn't understand what works well for me.
Yeah. But your point, Manny, that you made, and I think really needs to be emphasized, is you said, even if it's a few, a small win, puts you in a better frame of mind. Even if it's 4 or 5 ticks, it just does. It's the dopamine of, okay, I'm back.
Yeah. Well, I always think that, I don't know, you can beat the bots, right? Once. You can beat the bots twice. You can beat the bots 3 times, but eventually, they're gonna get you. You're gonna get offside at some point, and all of a sudden you're at their disposal.
Yep.
So that's kind of one of the things, and with the way I trade, is you're kind of taking the bots out of it. When you're taking the longer term, the longer holding period that you have, the less the bots are involved. There's less noise.
Yeah.
And that's the one good thing a better thing about swing trading that I do like is, there is intraday movement, but the way I'm trading, it normally doesn't affect me. Not to say I'm exempt from it, from swing trading or swing traders, but it's a less of a factor. Or for me,
is it like better structurally for you, Tom? Like, waiting for like VWAP value areas and stuff like that.
Well, I don't use that as, and again, this is technology. The chart that I'm showing now is, kind of my thing would be, when I went long to say if it, it kind of goes back down into, the 133 level, I was out, and I said, or I think it was at 131. But I think prices are feeling more comfortable up here. And normally what you see is situations where they go down to low, high, play around. They just find this distribution area. And that's what traders like. This is where the liquidity was. And again, I got lucky. It's not like I had this was just turned out to be a winning trade. But I thought this was going to go higher, which it did. But I just kind of let it run its course. And that's where, you set this up. What did I buy? The 135, 140 spread. Spread. So that made me 84% on that trade or in 2 nights. And I just took it and walked away.
Yeah. I was trying to get handle stats in here to stop by. And I just looked at Intel. Has anybody looked at that?
I saw it last week. It was doing great.
Yeah.
I was thinking of him.
He was.
Maybe that's why he's skiing so much.
He was trying to get me to buy it last week. I said, I'm not buying it up here. This is crazy.
Oh, look at this.
He got up to 64.78.
Yep.
Isn't he in the?
He was pushing people
from
to
the
buy
20s?
19.
Yeah, I thought that he's like long from like the 20s, I thought, or maybe lower than that. 19. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's been in for quite a while. And I know he's a flag bearer for Intel. And
yeah, he is. Well, I mean, one of the things I've always been, I'm never jealous of someone that, or you know what I mean? I'm happy when I see people make money. And I'm unhappy I didn't buy it, but I'm happy for him. I mean, got 9,000 shares. So
I do when I look up every night when I look through and Intel, I always think of Handelstat. When I think of Intel, I think of Handelstat.
Well, it's nice to see, And he's also selling his house, so every time I talk to him, he's, I'm going to get this much money for my house, and if not, I'm going to fire the guy, and But he's a good guy, and we've got a really good lineup of people, don't we, Manny?
Oh, I think so. I think I'm really excited about how this is all unfolding and what this is. This is the early stages, so stay tuned, right? As we continue to build it out and add more traders, add more insight. I'm really, really optimistic about what this is going to look like, even 2 months, but really like 6 months from now once we really hit our stride. And
the trader funding program's growing. So we're all happy about that.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. That continues to be to unfold nicely, and hopefully, what prop firm out there gives you this type of, is giving you this type of value, will give you algorithms to trade with, like the PTG ATA. Will trade alongside you. We're so interestingly enough about that is, I first started markets and I worked at Bloomberg, but one of the things right after Bloomberg, I took an internship at that prop firm, SMB Capital. It's pretty well known in New York City. So I remember those guys. I'm sure everybody knows them. So I interned there for a while, right? And I remember that the way they followed their prop firm model was they would teach you certain things, how to trade, and once you earned that, you demonstrated the ability to trade, then they would fund you, and then the idea there was for them to earn their money back that they invested in you from the money that you earned, not them earning money from you resetting and buying accounts. Yeah. And that's what we're kind of trying to build out with Pitbull Traders, is we're not gonna be the biggest funder on the street. We're not gonna have 5,000 traders like Apex or something like that. No, but if we can build out, if we can build out and develop a group of, even a small group of 10, 15 good traders that are coming in and making money every day and following a process. That's the goal for us. And then if we can participate in that profit split, that 80-20 split, 80 for them, 20 for us, we believe that we can make money there. And that's the goal.
Yeah. And do the right thing at the same time.
Right.
So why don't we wrap this up? I've got one question. Yep. And all three of us will put out one rule that you think is the most important trading rule. That if you just had one rule that you could come up with, what would it be, Tom?
I mean, for me, it's money management.
Okay.
It's risk management.
Yeah.
That's just key. Take a loss, but to be able to walk back the next day without any issues, fine.
Yeah, I think for me it's pretty straightforward. It's trade less, not more, right? If I have a guy that I'm coaching, he's just starting out, he's a pretty successful guy in what he does. And one of the things so just to share with you guys, as I build out this coaching structure with him, and one of the things that we're working on is so he's only allowed to take 3 trades per day, no more.
Yeah.
And he's only allowed to trade 1 contract, all in, all out, to see if his system and his development works. What he doesn't understand is that I'm building him up to have a set discipline, that he doesn't fall into the gambling habit. I want him to go all in, all out, so that he knows how to get in, take profit, and step out. And I want to I'm trying to build his mindset into a successful mindset and avoid the pitfalls that come from, trading haphazardly. So yeah, so my rule would be trade less, not more. That would be it.
And you, Danny?
And I think mine would be to understand your limitations and always be willing to learn from other people. And that's why when we first opened up Mr. Top Step, our drive was always to make a collective of traders. And I'll finish by saying, I think that we've accomplished that. We have our best crew that we've ever had right now. As we sit here right now, we've brought in what I believe is the best group of traders we've ever had. So with that said,
yep.
Why don't we call it? We've got a 12:15 meeting, and Tom, you're coming back in. Maybe I can get Handle Stats to come in and do a victory lap in here a little later, and let's just keep the momentum going, Manny.
Yep. No, thank you, Danny. Appreciate you doing a drive-by, Tom. Thank you for.
No problem. And again, you know what? It's not that I haven't want to come in, or not that I don't want to come in. I've really just been this whole thing with the homes, and I've been sidetracked.
Totally get it. Yeah, no, you're, when you can, we'll take what we can get for now. And I know that once you have more time on your hand, you're going to be a lot coming by a lot more.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right, guys.
Take care, guys. If anything pops up this afternoon, I'm going to jump off and get some lunch now. But if anything exciting happens, or I get a setup here, I'll jump on later on. All right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
I'll be jumping in at 2 o'clock Eastern time.
Great. Thanks,
Okay.
Tom.
Yeah. So Tom will be on at 2 p.m. Take care, guys.
Okay.